us to talk about Utah football is Pete Lubar from Final Play Sports Media. Pete, it's great to have you on, for the third time now. And we talked about a little bit about BYU, and we talked about Oklahoma State, and Utah. They're sitting right now at 6-2, fifth in the Big 12. Have had some really strong wins versus Arizona State and West Virginia and UCLA at the beginning of the year, and obviously Colorado this week as they won 53-7. So,
yeah,
Pete, with that said, you look at this Utah team, one of the best offensive lines in the entire country, constantly being able to find ways to run the football. What have you seen from them, and what's your overall take on them this year?
Yeah, so they're a really fun team to watch. The quarterback is a guy named Devin Dampier. He transferred in from New Mexico. He came along with his offensive coordinator. Last year, New Mexico was fourth in the nation, which is in total offense, which is hard to believe. And Utah is second in points scored in the conference. They have 38.9 points a game. They are second in defense at 14 point. They're holding opponents to 14.3. So scoring 38.9 and holding opponents to 14.3 is absolutely a recipe for success. They just killed Colorado this weekend, and they did it without Devin Dampier. He was injured. And I'm trying to remember the name of the kid here. If you give me a second, I'll find it. His name is Bird Ficklin.
Oh, yeah.
And he looks just like Devin Dampier, smaller quarterback, very, very mobile. And what Utah does offensively is run the football. They're a running team, and they have hundreds of creative ways to get the quarterback to run. So Devin Dampier is like 11th in running in the league. Ficklin came in and rushed for 151 yards and one TD, and threw for 140 yards. But that's kind of how they go. They pass for 170 yards and run for 400 every week, and it's darn near unstoppable. So they're a really good team. They've got a very tough matchup with Cincinnati coming up this week. Cincinnati is 7-1, 5-0 in conference, and it's almost a must-win for Utah if they think they're going to get to the conference championship game.
Yeah, because now that we obviously talked about Kyle Whittingham, and he's kind of wrapping up his season, wrapping up his career and everything, and I think it would be great for him to finally get one more Pac-12 title, and most importantly, a playoff appearance too, for all the success he's had.
Yeah, they're a fun watch. I really enjoy that style of football where you run that way, and just having an athlete or two that can do that is really cool.
Yeah, especially last year too. Just how pedestrian that offense was. With everybody kind of thought Cam Rising would be back, and then he really wasn't. Then they had Nate Johnson and Isaac Wilson starting. So for them to bring in Tim Beck, for them to get those couple key transfers from New Mexico and really turn it around, where Utah is really a legitimately a complete team compared to last year, where they're, I guess, in the sense like the Iowa of the Big 12, and in the sense that they were just relying on their defense as much as they could, and then they would only be able to put up 10, 15 points a game.
Yeah, I mean, that was the story of last year. They had a decent defense, and they couldn't score. And Jason Beck comes in, and I don't know how he does it, because I was literally blown away last year by New Mexico, and then he's doing the same thing at Utah, and helps have a quarterback, and the quarterback's mobile, and he's a dual threat guy. He's pretty accurate as a passer. He's passing for like 66%, which is really good for a college player, but he just doesn't pass much. And they know, every team that they play knows they're going to run. They still can't stop it. It's super creative. You got a lot of end arounds. You've got fakes. You've got drop back. It's all intentional runs. But Dampier and now Bird. Both are super athletic and can make people miss. And once they're gone, you're not catching them. So they've got a lot of long touchdowns this year too.
I was about to say you caught me. You did a good job. I think I said Tim Beck instead of Jason Beck. Tim Beck's the guy
Jason Beck.
for Coastal
I
Carolina.
couldn't remember his name either, but I looked it up while we were talking here.
Yeah, but yeah, I think that you brought up another good point about Utah in general too. It's just the amount of different weapons that they have too. Like another guy that I really like watching is Wayshawn Parker. They're halfback too, so it's not just it's nice having a guy like that too. Where Dampier is not obviously he was hurt this week, but at least you're in a situation where you're kind of asking yourself, hey, you don't want him to take so many hits where he can potentially not be there for the latter half of the year when they're playing Cincinnati and Kansas State. But he's just such a vital part in terms of their offensive identity that you really want to kind of find that balance too. Because even for the most part, the most passing yards he's had all year is 244 yards against BYU. So they've done a really good job at just being able to control the clock. Really good offensive line play. I would argue probably one of the best in the country.
Yeah.
And then most importantly, just playing disciplined football.
Yeah. So they lost to BYU and then they lost to, was it Texas Tech?
Yeah, it was Texas Tech at the towards the beginning of the year.
Yeah. So, I mean, those are good losses. if there's such a good thing as a good loss, man, losing to, two top 20 teams is not bad.
Yeah, then when you look at this Utah Cincinnati matchup that's going to be happening this weekend, it's going to be a 10:15 Eastern kickoff. What are some of your, kind of things to watch for in terms of that matchup, and who would you favor?
Well, it's at home, and I tend to favor the home team. The spread is, I'm trying to remember here. Utah's favored by 7.5 at home. The kid from Cincinnati, Brendan Sorsby, the quarterback, is a pretty good player too. Last week he had 111 yards passing, which no one's that excited about, but he threw for 2 touchdowns and he added 85 on the ground and a rushing TD. So, if the Bearcats can play defense like they did last week against Baylor, they got a chance. But you got to remember that, Utah is averaging 38 points, almost 39 points a game. And I don't know if Cincinnati's defense is going to be good enough to hold up to that kind of onslaught. And on the other side, you've got a defense that's holding teams to, 16 or 17 points a game, 14.3, sorry. Can you score enough? I mean, what happens if the game's tight? I mean, you have to think that Cincinnati's going to have to score at least 28 points to win. And that's not what Utah does. So I see Utah winning, and I would probably say they'll cover the spread. They'll win by 21 or 18, something like that.
Yeah, because especially too, as great of a story Cincinnati has been this year, and Scott Satterfield deserves a lot of credit, especially at least for me. Cincinnati wasn't necessarily on my Big 12 radar. I think another thing that you brought up too is just how the Cincinnati offensive lines will be able to protect Brandon Sorsby, because I think it's going to be the first game where you're legitimately going to have a defensive line that's going to truly be able to get after him. Because I mean, yeah, they've played the Baylors and the Iowa States of the world, but not a team that can really get as much pressure on them as much as Utah can. Because I mean, Utah recorded 27 hurries against Colorado, and not that Colorado as necessarily as the greatest offensive line in the Big 12, but for them to be able to get that much pressure and to be that dominant in terms of conference play, I mean, that's definitely something you have to think about if you're Cincinnati too. In terms,
I mean, Cincinnati's beaten Kansas, who's kind of what we thought they were going to be, which is a mid-tier Big 12 program this year. They beat Baylor at home, but Baylor is a mid-tier Big 12 team. And you said they beat Iowa State. And Iowa State's sort of a mid-tier Big 12 team this year. So they haven't played any of the real big boys yet. And when I looked at the upcoming schedule, I think they've got Tech and they've got this game. I could see them losing both. And so they may drop out of the conference championship race with 2 losses. I think it's going to be teams that have 1 loss or less. So.
Yeah, because they're ranked 17th in the country right now. Because I mean, they're gonna also have Arizona too, and Arizona's been kind of another mid team. So I mean, no matter where they're at, I mean, they definitely deserve a lot of credit for what they've done. And even that Nebraska game at the beginning of the year too, that they were pretty competitive in that game too. Because I certainly thought watching that, if their offensive line held up a little bit better, I think they could have got away with probably getting another touchdown in there too.
Yeah, but where's Nebraska in the Big Ten? Sort of middle tier, right?
Yeah, they're just Nebraska is just one of those teams where they're, at least up until the Minnesota game, they were, flirting with that kind of top 25. And then when Minnesota kind of just pretty much dominated them, everyone was like, okay, now it's it.
Yeah, but I think they went out to Nebraska. They go out and lose at Maryland too.
They came back to Maryland, yeah.
Yeah, it was Maryland or Rutgers, a team they probably should have beat and didn't pull that one out. And so I'm not sold on Nebraska as one of the best 25 teams in the nation.
Yeah, not yet. But you have any other thoughts about Utah?
No, I really enjoy watching them play. I think they're very creative offensively, and then defensively they're really good. So I think it's going to be a tough day for Cincinnati. I'd be surprised if Cincinnati won that game. Don't hold it against me if they do. I'm just looking at the stats and thinking and doing a little gambling and figuring it out. But it looks like the way Utah played this past weekend, it could be real ugly for Cincinnati.